light here. And by the way, as a reminder, when you see me switching off, well, rather hiding these entities, Shift O brings them back. Wow, yeah, the range in this is really long, and shadows are off, so it's bleeding everywhere, which is kind of the point of that light. So I think it's fine if it's a little bit, if it bleeds a little bit, as long as the players don't notice. Just to be careful with that. Man, I think we're getting awfully close here. Let's see, got a fog light here. Should I put another one here? I really love these fog lights. They're really cheap too. You can put a few around, as long as the index is turned off. And if you... Okay. And if you turn on render diffuse, it's even cheaper. So it's literally just like... I mean, even though it's a point light, it's an omni light, it's not really a light anymore. It's just basically fog. I really like these guys. They create a really nice look. Let's see these window spots. I just selected all of them, and I think I'm gonna bring the indirect light multiplier down, because from my last test bake, I think the map is pretty orangey, which is like, I mean, it's always gonna look like that because of the directional lights. But usually in nighttime maps, there's a lot more contrast. So if you remove or kill, either kill completely the bounce or just have it very very low. I think, yeah, 0.1 or 0.15, just a little bit of it, just so the light always reaches corners, right? So maybe a little bit. Alright, so what else? So let's bring up the asset browser here and click on the post-processing editor, and the post-processing editor window will pop up. And let's see here, let's look for our post-processing entity. It's called the post-processing volume, and let's click on it, and I'm gonna open the post-process that I created for my daytime level, and I am going to dupe that, save as, and I'm gonna call it Porto night post-process. Press save on that, and let's see. Now I need to click on the entity and browse and load the post-process file that I just created. There you go. You're not gonna see any change because it's the same one. And in fact, you know what, guys? Like, I made a mistake here. I should never have worked on the lighting on this map with any sort of post processing on. Post processing is always the cherry on top of your map, and I actually noticed that all this time I've been working with a little bit of post processing on. Fortunately, the post processing that I had turned on only really adds a little bit of contrast, and increases the exposure a little bit on the tone mapping, and adds a bit of bloom. So I didn't really fuck around with the colors, or I didn't use a LUT file or anything, so fortunately it's not that bad. But if you are working on materials and if you are working in lighting, you should totally turn post-processing off. Now let's see here. So this is our opportunity to make our map look a lot more like our references. So we have, on the post-processing editor here, we have a bunch of layers that we can add. Saturation, curves, color balance, bloom, tone mapping is some of the ones that we are using right now. There's a bunch more. You can add more layers, and you can also add masks to the layers, and those masks already come with curves. So you can like, say you want to make the shadows of your map, I don't know, magenta. You can totally just do that by adding a color balance, adding a mask, and control the basically do what we're doing here. Just control the curves, so that layer only affects the well, not the bright areas of the map, the shadowed areas of the map. This I really like this post-process editor. It's hands down the best post processing editor that I have ever worked in any engine ever. It's really amazing how you have a bunch of control inside the editor. It's really awesome. Usually I make an LUT file. I take a screenshot of the map and I go into Photoshop and I tweak the brightnesses and I tweak the colors and then I import to that LUT file, and that's that. But if I want to iterate with that, I'm gonna need to go back to Photoshop, export the file. In here, there's none of that. Like, you have all these awesome little layers that you can add and hide and tweak again and again. Like, the amount of control that you have in here, man, it's just insane. This is really awesome stuff. So added some bloom here, exaggerated the bloom a little bit. I guess we can crank up the um, the exposure a little bit too. Um, and you want the shaded areas to be pretty contrasty. Um, so you really want a big range. That's one of the things that I want. When the map goes towards the darker areas, I want it to be really dark, and when it goes towards the source of the lights, I want them to be almost blindingly bright, almost like bloomy white. Just the art style that I'm sort of like going for here, especially based on the references that we were looking at. Many would argue that big spotlight in there might be a bit too strong, but it's sort of what I'm going for. It's a bit of a um, artistic decision. You do whatever you think is right for the map that you are working on, of course. And as I'm rambling here, I'm just tweaking the glows of these windows here, and you can. I think I might have said this before, but you can pick a material by holding Shift and right mouse button, and then you just right click on the active material and open material, so you can edit any material in the map in a matter of seconds. You don't need to go into the asset browser, look for your material, none of that. You can just use your browser to pick the material you want, tweak, boom. Right, so quite like what we have here. Not bad at all. Guys, we are getting awfully close here. I do like, we had a ref in there that the terrain is kind of wet. Let's try and get like a little bonus here on this lighting tutorial. A lot of people, when they talk about lighting, they rarely talk about materials, but I actually think it's almost impossible for you to do a good lighting pass without thinking about materials and without editing materials. So what I'm gonna do here is that I'm gonna be duplicating my ground cobblestone material, saving it as a wet version, and selecting all of these polygons and pressing Shift T to apply it. So it looks exactly the same right now, but whoa, okay, this is strange. If for some reason it's fucking up with my UVs there, well, I guess we could just scale it down back to what we had. Scale it a little bit more, 0.75, enter, there you go. So no more seams. This is the power of Source 2 as well. There's no need to open a modeling application. You just see how fast I did that. That would have taken you 5 minutes in any other engine. This is really awesome stuff. I mean, you could brighten your textures as well in here. There's a lot of like different parameters that you can have for your color maps, your roughnesses, etc. And you don't even need to use a roughness map, by the way. You can just like decide to have a tint. I mean, we can try that too. We'll see how it goes. Something tells me that it won't look as good, but we'll see. So let's go around the map and apply. Yeah, see, it's happening the same thing here. It's kind of strange. Oh well. Just align and fix the UVs really quick there. Select all the polygons. Shift T to assign the new material, and fix the UVs. I don't think this ever happened to me. I wonder if I'm doing something wrong. When I'm applying the new material, it's fucking up with my UVs for some reason. I don't know why that's happening. Is it happening the same thing here? Let's see. Yeah. Oh well. click twice on the scale and bring up the scale and 0.75 enter, and it's sort of like the dimensions I went with. It's working good. So this is my texture here. I'm gonna go to rough and I'm gonna duplicate that, and I am gonna call it rough underscore wet. And again, I am using the Espresso exporter. Really nifty Photoshop plugin. I think it's a must. I use this in a real engine. I use this with any engine that I work with. It doesn't really matter. It's really awesome. You can just create your folders there, and then you can load them into Espresso exporter, call it something, and obviously point it to the correct folder that you have it in Photoshop, and just export that. So just like keep basically tweaking the new roughness wet. And I did a lot of work to this roughness texture. Notice how it's kind of blobby and splotchy on purpose. I didn't want it to have like a lot of fine, kind of like 1 pixel details or 2 pixel details in there, because otherwise my reflections look too grainy, and that just looks a little bit too realistic and too busy for the kind of art style that I'm going for. I want this scene to look believable, not necessarily photorealistic. I'm one of those people that think, I mean, I'm not gonna say that reality is boring, but even when you are aiming for a believable, realistic scene, you should still make the correct decisions that your scene looks good with the engine that you're working on. Yeah, there you go. This looks bit exaggerated, but it's there. And the reason you can see it on the other cobblestones is because I'm actually blending with a different material. So if we bring that up, yeah, see, so if you click on this button here, you're not using a texture anymore, you're just using a value, and you can get here to this value, and the darker it is, hang on, because it's kind of slow. Yeah, see, there you go. The darker it is, the more reflective the material will be. But obviously this is a linear value, so so the whole texture reflects evenly, and I don't think you should do that. I kind of like when the crevices of the cobblestones would probably would pool around the crevices, so you would get like sharper reflections of course, and less water would pool up on top of the stones, so you probably don't want these stones to be as reflective, because of course it's not raining right now, like it rained like an hour ago or something, or a while ago, so the water, I mean, maybe enough time had passed for the water to evaporate. So I don't think we're gonna get there with just a value, so I think it's worth it to spend a little bit of time altering a new roughness texture. So I open up my other texture, and same thing, duplicate my roughness and call it rough wet. On the Espresso exporter, I'm gonna call it exactly the same thing, rough wet. So you just need to select the folder to the correct folder and click on the export button in there on the bottom when you're done with it. So same thing, and by the way, as a reminder, in case if you don't know that, the on the roughness texture, the darker a pixel is, the sharper the reflection will be, and the brighter a pixel is, the more dull it is, the more rubbery it is. Yes, see, so this is sort of like what we're trying to go for. So let's see here. I flip that, by the way. If you do Control I in Photoshop, you flip the values. So black becomes white and white becomes black. We do that there. So both materials are kind of similar now. So export that. So let's just load that sucker in and look for wet. There you go. And give it a second, because this is a 2K, so it takes a little bit. Search engine needs to compile it. Yeah, there you go. It's getting there, man. Look at this, starting to look really good. I think For nighttime scenes, usually materials look better with a little bit more of a more shine to them, because you have less directional light, because you have no sun, right? I mean, you do have the sun mimicking. I mean, you have the moon, right? But it's definitely not as interesting as the sun is, a brighter sun. So when I'm working on night times like this, I always try to do a little bit of a material tweaks, like maybe the materials are a little bit wet, and oh, hello, that's it, there's a gap there. If you want to fill that gap, you just open the displacement tool, reduce the radius a little bit, look how fast this is, and just slightly bring it up a little bit, just sort of sculpt it a little bit. There you go, there you go, boom. I mean, how incredible is this, right? Like, just to basically have like a little sculpting nifty tool inside the editor. I am a big fan of the modeling tools of this editor. It's one of the reasons why I decided to make this tutorial. Actually, I really hope more people. I really hope these kind of tools gain more awareness, because I would really love to see other editors, um, sort of like adopt the same some of the same functionalities that we have here. And I know it's probably not easy to to make a full-on modeling toolkit inside a level editor, right? Like you probably need like years and years of work for software engineer and render engineers to do that. But I mean, it's really worth it. I mean, as an artist and level designer, it made me. I mean, I was legit impressed. I've been working with game engines for more than 15 years now, and this engine is the best of both worlds, because 15 years ago, well, 20 years ago, we used to work with BSP, right? BSP was the thing, and you did all the modeling and all the texturing inside the editor. Slowly and slowly, as the game's fidelity started going up, of course. All the materials need to look nice, and with baked props and very high res textures and everything, and the geometry of everything went up. More higher density of polygons. People, I mean, BSP kind of died, of course, a slow death, and it meant that almost everything that you see in games nowadays is authored in 3D Studio Max, in Maya, and Blender, whatever, and that it's brought into the editor. This editor, Source 2, kind of kills that. I mean, sure, it's still there. You can still. I mean, I did some things for the scene in Maya, but to be honest, even those, you don't necessarily need to, but it's still there for you. It's not like you're gonna tell your artist, no, you can't do that anymore. No, the possibility is still there, and that's why I said it's sort of like the best of both worlds. So the people that wanna like stay in the engine, which is what I try to do here, I try to stay in the engine as much as possible for the architecture, the ground, and everything else. And it's such a pleasurable workflow. It's just so nice how you can just do everything in here. You can texture in here, you can model in here, and not only that, I mean, imagine how much work it is. You do something, model something, texture something, and then your art director comes and he asks you to change a few things, and you're like, fuck my life, man, I'm gonna have to go back to my eyeballing and rebake and God knows how many tools, open Substance, open this, open that. Not that I have anything against Substance. I love procedural stuff that has nothing to the topic actually, but I just like workflows that are minimal. um, I kind of like these, like hopping from one app to the other, and this engine just allows me to do it all in here, and I really love it. Yeah, we're getting close. I'm really liking these materials now. Add a little bit of a shine to it. Looks kind of wet. Very cool stuff. This light is still annoying me. It just looks fake. Let's see what I can do here really quick. I really like how that edge kind of catches the light, but I don't necessarily like how the light hits that wall. But oh, we still need to make this texture, by the way. So right click, shift right click, and the ground cobblestone 04. We can right click save as and get a wet version going on. Save that. There you go, and we can close this, and it's the 04 version. There you go. Let's see here. Again, same thing we did for the other two materials. Duplicate the rough folder. This is how you should structure your PSTs. By the way, always be organized and name them, because for sure you're gonna go back to it later, and the last thing you want is to be looking where you place your textures or something. Like, always respect your future self, because your future self will be pretty mad at you when when you didn't name things correctly. Okay. Remember, darker means sharper reflections. So if a pixel is black, it's just gonna be a perfect mirror. If it's white, it's like rubber. Alright, so create a folder in Express Exporter, call it load rough wet, and let's just export that. I really love this plugin. Definitely check it out, guys. Even if you work with other engines, Unity, Unreal, whatever, this plugin is a godsend, because I don't need to like go to save as and export as TGA. It just does all that shit for you. Alright, so let's bring our wet version, and come on, nothing happened because we still need to apply the material, of course. I forgot about that. So go to browse, and let's untable this, type wet, and here's the second material. So select all of these faces, shift T, and there you go. This is looking nice. Look at this. It's just like, these always make, oh whoops, no, I just want this face. Yeah, look at that. And do the same here. Oh no, I gotta fix that. Oh, let me isolate this, and there you go. And let me turn off these faces here. You can drag, by the way, you can just drag left mouse button to select or unselect. Yeah, there you go. And shift T to apply the new material. I'm a fan of this. Like, notice how it's really exactly like our ref, and it's really getting not only the spec from your lights, but also the nice reflections from your reflection probes. That is why I am a fan of making nighttime maps. If you're struggling with a nighttime map, add puddles, make wet materials. It's a hack that always works. Takes a while. It's a 2K, so there you go. I tweaked it a little bit there. Maybe it's a bit too much. Look at that. It's looking good, man. Look at this. Nice shiny floor here. Okay. Alright, we are getting very close to the end of this lighting tutorial. There's still a few things that we could do here, but I'm pretty satisfied. Really hope you guys like this. Alright, let's see. Lighting is always a lot of fun, and unfortunately and weirdly, a lot of the artists that I know, I'm not gonna say they ignore lighting. They know the importance of lighting, but I think we should all kind of like dig into lighting. I am the opinion that I'm gonna be, as I ramble, I'm gonna be organizing these props here. It doesn't really make sense for a nighttime scene like this to look like this is still a working cafe or something. So what was I saying? I think I am the opinion that just a gray box can look amazing with good lighting. Just a gray box, no texture, just literally a cube, can look amazing with great lighting, and a really amazing model can look awful with horrible lighting. And keep that in mind, right? Like keep that in mind as you spend hours and hours modeling your models and texturing your models just to um, just to completely fail on the last presentation step, right? So whether you're a prop artist, whether you're an environment artist, or to be honest, even if you're a level designer, don't be afraid of like learning a little bit about lighting, learning a little bit about the um, the ins and outs of your engine, and what technique your game is using. Some games use light maps, other games go full on real time. Like I don't know if you're using CryEngine for instance, you don't even have light maps there. Everything is real time, which is awesome. But at the same time, it means that it's also a little bit more challenging to do occlusion and all of that stuff. So how would you do that? Like dig into that a little bit, um, and let your work shine. As long as you respect the process. Obviously, you're not gonna do final lighting while you are blocking out the map, right? I mean, you're literally still blocking things out, working with cubes, but I don't know. But if you know that your map is gonna be nighttime, for instance, I mean, I guess you could still be working on a full lit map if you wanted to when you're blocking things out. But like turn it into nighttime really quick. It probably shouldn't take you much time, or if you don't know how to do it, talk with one of your artists, talk with one of your lighting artists, and like let's um, let's do a really quick pass. Still early, but let's just do a quick pass now to do because I'm a fan of that. I'm a fan of throwing stuff in game as quick as possible. All right, so I organize some of these props here, and I mean we're just like just gotta bake now. Do a final bake, and obviously do the preview baked lighting, and then do F9 to build map. Click final compile, and do the resolution as 4K. 8K, I doubt you have a good computer for 8K, but if you do 4K and build a map like this takes about 8 hours, so I know it's a long time, but go to bed and in the morning it's done.